had this game that I would play when I was a kid, that I would write down on pieces of paper, just my name and the date and the time and maybe a few thoughts, and just hide them. And they were like time capsules. And it was always fascinating to dig them up, even if it's just a week later, to think about that time, that span that had gone on, and how I'd changed and how the exterior had changed.
Michael Kenna works alone. He doesn't bring an army of assistants. He is a man who lives in solitude, enjoys solitude. He's a long-distance runner. And that solitude, that sense of being alone in a vast space is the heart of his work. You look at those landscapes and you can imagine yourself there. There are no other people, intentionally. He wants the viewer to imagine themselves to be in that landscape, alone in the beauty of the world.
I probably do have a warped sense of light and dark and time. I was regarded as something of a luxury to have 2 hours to, to watch the stars, or to see the clouds move, or to, to have an inner conversation, or a conversation with the subject matter that you're photographing, or just to listen and do nothing for 2 hours is in our very fast-paced, chaotic, jumbled, multimedia, multicolor. There's so much going on that sometimes it's nice to take a little time off and in a sense meditate. I grew up in a small town called Widnes, which is in the northwest of England, very close to the city of Liverpool. I spent the first 10 years, even though I had this large family, it seemed that I spent most of it in my own imagination and on my own. I spent a lot of time in the local parks. I had my favorite trees, and I would spend a lot of time on the local railway station, or I would go for long walks, through the city at night, along the river, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Widnes was a very industrial town, so there were a lot of factories. So many of the things that I photograph now, whether it's interior architecture with a certain atmosphere, or whether it's the bridges or the seasides or the parks, or there are so much related to just my little town and my little upbringing. I can probably relate 99% of the subject matter I photograph directly to those early influences. The Ratcliffe Power Station, on one hand we can see it as being an extremely ugly monstrosity. One can also see it as quite an exquisite 20th century piece of sculpture that's extremely functional, that we all need because we've become dependent upon electricity. And there is always that double-edged aspect, this, well, what about the rainforest? What about the pollution, the carbon monoxide? We live in a very imperfect world. When you work as a photographer, you are part of a collaboration. There's a symbiotic relationship going on. You're photographing wondrous things, and if you have a relationship with those wondrous things, then they tend to open up more. And what the photographer creates, in fact, the photographer is not creating. The photographer and the subject matter are creating it together.